Hello, my friends. Massive news from down under here in Australia. Tesla, the 2025 Model Y just got a $4,500 price cut. That's a big difference. Now, why is this happening? Well, for one, Tesla say that they've sold out of the launch series and they're now bringing out the standard models. So the standard range and the long range. But here's the thing, right? Electric car sales are skyrocketing around the world this year, but not really for Tesla. In fact, their sales obviously have gone down significantly. Let's dig into the specs here. The long range launch series versus the standard trim. The new long range Tesla Model Y is cheaper than it's ever been before. But interestingly, if you buy the launch series, it could actually work out to be cheaper for you if you want certain paint colors and you want the performance boost. Anyway, first off, let's set the stage. EV sales are exploding worldwide. There is no doubt about it. Car Scoops says that China's EV sales hit 650,000 in February. That is a significant increase versus last year. In fact, nearly 50% growth versus last year. BYD alone sold 300,000 cars. That's up 160%. Europe, well, same thing. EV sales have grown by 20% in Europe. Even Germany is up 35%. North America, right? North America, their sales are up by 20%, 140,000 in February. Cadillac are saying they're going to have 35% of their sales will be electric this year, and in a few years, they'll be 100% electric. In Australia, well, Tesla's really struggling. So they're trying to fight back with this new Model Y to, compete against, well, my car for one, the Xpeng G6 long range, which by the way, I still think is better value than this is. But anyhow, Tesla has slashed $4,500 off the 2025 Model Y in Australia, but it's still more expensive than the old version. It's now 58,900 Australian dollars for the standard range Tesla Model Y. However, whilst that is around about $4,500 cheaper than the launch series, it's actually $3,000 more expensive than the 2024 base model. Still seems like a decent deal though. What about the long range? Well, the long range all-wheel drive is now $68,900 plus on-road costs. That's one of the problems with these prices. Tesla does charge you a $1,400 delivery fee. So $68,900 still does mean it's $4,500 cheaper in theory than the launch series, and it's $1,000 cheaper than the previous old generation of the Tesla Model Y long range. It's actually the cheapest the Model Y long range has ever been here in Australia. In fact, the Model Y in 2023 was actually $82,000. Obviously it's $13,000 cheaper than what it was in 2023. Tesla is actually clearing old stock too. Some 2024 long-range models you can buy for $65,800 drive away. So that's basically like $60,000 for the old Tesla Model Y long range. Is it worth it, or should you pay an extra $10,000 approximately to get the new Model Y long range? Well, I think the new one is worth the extra. But is it worth it in comparison to other electric cars on the market? Questionable now, right? So what's under the hood? Well, the rear-wheel drive, it has 466 kilometers of range, which is an increase of 11 kilometers versus the old model. The long range has 551 kilometers of range, which is an increase of 18 kilometers versus the old model. However, one of the big key differences here is the long range version does not have the power boost. So the launch series got the power boost, and you got whatever color paint choice you wanted to get as included in the price for your extra $4,500. The long range now, you've got to pay extra for paint colors. So standard, you're actually getting pearl white multi-coat, which is a good color, but you've got to pay an extra $2,300 for glacier blue. Stealth gray is $2,300. Quicksilver is $2,600. And ultra red is also $2,600. Then if you paid for the power boost, which is an approximate extra $3,000, it actually is more expensive to get the long range non-launch series if you want power boost. If you don't care about the power boost, then it's cheaper. So how much of a difference is there? Well, performance-wise, it's not a huge difference, to be honest. It's about half a second. So 0 to 100 in the new version of the launch. So 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 0 to 62 miles an hour in the long-range non-launch series is 4.9 seconds. In the launch series, it's around 4.3 seconds. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think most people would care about that extra zero point 0.6 of a second. It is a pretty big performance difference, but I mean, let's face it, these aren't race cars, are they? Now, getting back to the rear-wheel drive, the standard range model, the cheapest model for 59,000 Australian dollars, that model actually has a total of 225 kilowatt coming from its rear-wheel drive motor. It's got a 15.4-inch touchscreen, a little bit bigger the touchscreen than the previous version, vegan leather, and of course, it's got that media screen in the back seat. That's one of the big changes, the screen for the kids in the back. In addition to that, it obviously gets new wheels, 19-inch Gemini wheels. Now, stepping up to the long-range all-wheel drive, you're going to get a 137 kilowatt motor in the front, a 225 kilowatt motor in the rear. One of the big issues that I have, though, with Teslas is the warranty. I'm not convinced the warranty is that good. It's 4 years on the car, 80,000 kilometers. That's about the worst warranty of any car you can buy. The battery is decent. It's an 8-year battery warranty or 160,000 kilometers. But I mean, for example, the Xpeng G6, I've got to say it, guys, it has to be said, that's got a 10-year warranty on the car and the battery. 10 years. So the question is, do you go and buy the Tesla when it's more expensive, quite a bit more expensive, and the Xpeng G6 has more range, faster charging speed. It comes with all paint colors as standard. You're getting twice as long of a warranty. I mean, it's also got a screen right in front of the driver if you like to have a screen right in front of you. Yeah, I don't regret buying the Xpeng. I think it was a better purchase than the Model Y here. As a result, after seeing these specs and numbers and stuff, and to be honest, considering my own personal financial situation anyway, in the context, I have cancelled my Model Y order. So, yeah. Now, one thing I should point out, which I forgot to mention, is that the Tesla Model Y standard range, the new standard range, it is quite a bit faster than the previous version. It gets the China upgrade with the China motor. It can do 0 to 100 in 5.9 seconds. So it's only about a 1 second difference in terms of performance between the standard range and the long range. 5.9 seconds is a lot quicker than the previous version, which did 0 to 100 in 6.9 seconds. In comparison to, say, my Xpeng, it's about the same. 6 seconds for the G6, 5.9 seconds for the Model Y. Now, what about the batteries? Is there any difference in the battery packs? Well, actually there is. A lot of the media have been saying there's not. I've seen this posted often. That's not true. The new Tesla Model Y standard range does have a bigger battery. It's gone from 60 kilowatt hours in terms of capacity to 62.5 kilowatt hours. I've heard the reason for that is a higher amp hour rating. It's 180 amp hours versus 173 amp hours. That's not actually true. I mean, it's got a higher amp hour rating simply because the battery pack is bigger. So, I mean, some people writing these articles for media websites, they don't really understand this kind of stuff. Here you go. Here's what Drive said. Thanks to a higher amp hour rating, 180 amp hours versus 173 amp hours. Now, the amp hours really are a reflection of the size of the battery. Anyway, the point is the battery is 2.5 kilowatt hours bigger. Thus, your Model Y standard range is going to get probably an extra 10 or 15 kilometers of range in the real world. So here's an overview of the prices again. The Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive, $58,900. Price has increased $3,000 versus the pre-facelift model. Tesla Model Y rear-wheel drive launch series, $63,400. Tesla Model Y long-range all-wheel drive, the non-launch series is $68,900, which is actually a decrease in price of $1,000. The Tesla Model Y long-range all-wheel drive launch series is $73,400, which is technically $4,500 more expensive than the long-range all-wheel drive. But of course, you do get that power boost, the paint as well, whatever paint choice you want. Plus, you get different wheels, and those different wheels will add to the cost if you want those wheels. Personally, I don't think those wheels are all that special, so you're probably not going to really care. That's the breakdown. I hope that makes sense to you. Now, the question here is, do I recommend it? Do I think you should go out and buy a Tesla? And honestly, you know, in the United States, guys, if I was living in the US, I probably would go ahead and buy one. For one thing, you can't buy Xpengs or Zeekas in the United States. But the other reason is, in the United States, you guys have amazing, Tesla's technology there is amazing. It is. I don't care if you hate them. The truth is, technology of Tesla's self-driving software, it's fantastic. Full self-driving, enhanced autopilot, even autopilot. They all work extremely well in the United States. They're not so good here in Australia. Therefore, I probably wouldn't recommend it in Australia, but I would recommend it in America. Hope that kind of makes sense. Let me know if you agree or you disagree in the comments. Bye-bye.